The massive alien warship hung in Earth's orbit like a dark cloud, its hull gleaming with strange symbols. Inside the United Earth Defense Headquarters, Commander Jack Stone stared at the holographic message for the 10th time, his weathered face tight with concentration. "They want our best Marines to take their combat trials," he muttered, running a hand through his gray hair. The aliens, who called themselves the Unity, had arrived 3 days ago with an unusual proposition: prove humanity's worth as warriors, or be forever banned from expanding beyond their solar system. The testing grounds would be on Mars, in specially constructed facilities. The Unity claimed these were the same trials all spacefaring races had to pass to join their galactic alliance. No species had achieved a perfect score in over 10,000 years. Stone looked at the 4 Marines standing before him. They were humanity's best chance: Tom Walker, a quiet farm boy from Kansas who could shoot a fly off a fence post at 500 yards, Maria Ross, whose combat scores were off the charts, John Cooper, built like a tank and twice as tough, and Rick Adams, whose tactical mind had saved countless lives in the Middle Eastern peace operations. "You've all seen the message," Stone said, his voice echoing in the steel-walled briefing room. "These aliens think their tests are impossible for humans. They've given us exactly one chance to prove them wrong." Maria stepped forward, her dark eyes burning with determination. "What kind of tests are we talking about, sir?" Stone activated another hologram, showing strange obstacle courses and combat scenarios. Physical trials, tactical challenges, and something they call psychological endurance tests. They've adapted them to Earth normal gravity and atmosphere, but that's all the help we're getting. "And if we fail?" John's deep voice rumbled through the room. "Then humanity stays trapped in this solar system forever. The Unity controls all major hyperspace routes. Without their approval, we'll never expand beyond Mars." Rick studied the holographic courses with intense focus. "Those obstacles, they're built for beings much stronger than humans. Look at the height of those walls, the weight of those barriers." "Exactly," Stone nodded. "The Unity's average soldier stands 9 feet tall and can lift 2 tons. They think these tests are impossible for us." Tom, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. "They don't know humans very well, do they, sir?" A small smile crossed Stone's face. "No, they don't. And that's our advantage. Throughout history, humans have accomplished the impossible when backed into a corner. We adapt. We overcome. We find ways to win that other species never even consider." The commander walked to a window, looking out at the alien warship visible in the evening sky. "You have 1 week to prepare. The Unity has provided basic information about the tests, but we'll have to figure out most of it as we go. Earth is counting on you for." "What about the psychological tests?" Maria asked. "Any intel on those?" Stone shook his head. "Nothing concrete. The Unity says each species faces different challenges based on their mental makeup. They scan our brains first, then customize the trials. So they're going to dig around in our heads?" John frowned. "That's not comforting." "We don't have a choice," Rick pointed out. "It's this or watch humanity stagnate in this one system forever." Tom walked to the window, standing beside the commander. "My grandfather used to say that nothing worth doing is ever easy. I say bring it on." Stone looked at his 4 chosen warriors with pride. They represented the best of humanity: strength, intelligence, determination, and that uniquely human ability to face impossible odds with a smile. "Get some rest," he ordered. "Training starts at 0500 tomorrow. We're going to throw everything we have at you to prepare for these trials. The Unity thinks they know what humans are capable of." He smiled grimly. "Let's show them how wrong they are." As the 4 Marines filed out, Stone watched the alien ship through the window. In 1 week, humanity's future would be decided by 4 soldiers and their ability to overcome supposedly impossible challenges. But if there was one thing humans had proven throughout their history, it was this: tell them something is impossible, and they'll find a way to do it anyway. The real question wasn't whether his Marines could pass these tests. The question was, were the aliens ready for what humans could really do when pushed to their limits? The next 5 days were brutal. Inside the military's most advanced training facility, the 4 Marines pushed themselves beyond their limits. The massive training room had been modified to simulate the alien testing grounds, based on the limited data the Unity had provided. Tom wiped sweat from his face as he completed his 15th run through the sniper course. The targets were now placed at impossible angles, some barely visible through artificial atmospheric distortion. "These aliens really don't want us to succeed," he muttered, reloading his rifle. Nearby, Maria was mastering a new technique she'd developed. The Unity's obstacle course required lifting weights far beyond human capacity, but she discovered that by using momentum and leverage in ways the aliens hadn't considered, she could move objects twice her strength limit. "They think in straight lines," she explained to John, who was watching her work. "Lift this, push that. They never consider using the weight against itself." She demonstrated, using a swinging motion to redirect a massive barrier that should have been impossible for any human to move. John nodded, his own training focused on endurance. The aliens expected their soldiers to fight for days without rest, but humans had their own tricks. "Rick figured out their testing patterns," he said. "There are rest points hidden in plain sight. Places where we can recover if we're smart enough to spot them." Rick himself was in the tactical room, surrounded by holographic displays of previous alien trials. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but he kept studying. "They're not testing what they think they're testing," he announced when the others joined him for their evening briefing. "What do you mean?" Commander Stone asked, entering the room with fresh coffee for everyone. Rick pointed to various sections of the trial courses. "Look at the pattern. Every test is designed for brute force, direct approaches. The Unity thinks they're testing pure physical and mental capabilities. But they've accidentally created scenarios where human ingenuity can completely change the game." Tom leaned forward, interested. "Like what?" "Take the sniper challenges," Rick explained. "They expect perfect shots through impossible conditions. But they never considered that someone might use the atmospheric distortion itself to curve shots around obstacles. That's why Tom's been so successful with his new targeting method." Maria nodded eagerly. "Same with the strength tests. They built everything assuming we'd try to match their physical power. They never thought we'd use physics and momentum instead." Commander Stone smiled, but his expression remained serious. "Good observations. But remember, we still don't know anything about the psychological tests." "Actually," Rick said, "I have a theory about those too. The Unity is highly organized, very structured. Their entire civilization is built on clear hierarchies and direct problem solving. I bet their psychological tests assume the same mindset. And humans don't think that way," John finished the thought. "We're unpredictable." "Exactly," Rick confirmed. "Our greatest strength isn't our muscles or our aim or even our tactics. It's our ability to think outside their very rigid box." Commander Stone checked his watch. 2 days left. "Tomorrow we integrate all your individual discoveries. You need to work as a perfect team when the real tests begin." The Marines nodded, determination visible on their tired faces. They discovered something crucial: the aliens' greatest weakness was their inability to understand how humans approached problems. Where the Unity saw impossible barriers, humans saw opportunities for creative solutions. "Get some sleep," Stone ordered. "Tomorrow's going to be even harder." As the team headed for their quarters, Tom paused. "Sir? What if we do more than just pass their tests? What if we show them something they've never seen before? Stone's eyes gleamed. That, soldier, is exactly what I'm counting on. The Unity thinks they're testing us, but maybe we're the ones teaching them a lesson about underestimating humanity. He Marines grinned at each other. In 2 days, they would either make history or become a cautionary tale about human hubris. But one thing was certain, the aliens were about to learn that impossible was just another word for, hasn't been done by humans yet. The Martian testing facility loomed before them, a massive structure that seemed to absorb the red desert sunlight. The 4 Marines stood in their specialized combat suits, watching as the Unity's representatives approached. It was their first close-up look at the aliens. They really are huge, John whispered, craning his neck to look up at the 9-foot-tall beings. The Unity soldiers moved with fluid grace despite their size, their metallic armor catching the sunlight. Their faces were hidden behind reflective masks, but their body language suggested confidence, maybe even arrogance. The lead alien stepped forward, its translator device humming to life. "We are impressed that you arrived on schedule. Most species require additional preparation time." The voice sounded artificial, almost musical. Commander Stone, who had accompanied his team to Mars, responded diplomatically. "Humans believe in punctuality, especially for important occasions." "Indeed." The alien gestured toward the facility. "We have analyzed your species' physical and mental capabilities. The tests have been calibrated accordingly, though we maintain our standard victory conditions. You understand this is merely a formality. No species of your size has ever." "We understand," Maria interrupted, her voice firm. "When do we start?" The alien's head tilted, perhaps surprised by her directness. "The first test begins in 1 hour. You will face the physical trials individually, then unite for the tactical challenges. The psychological evaluations will occur throughout." Tom noticed something odd about the facility's entrance. The massive doors were designed for Unity-sized beings, but there were smaller openings worked into the architecture. "You've hosted other small species here," he said, pointing. "Correct. All failed within the first 3 trials." The alien's translator couldn't quite capture emotion, but the tone suggested smugness. "We have medical teams standing by. There is no shame in withdrawal." Rick stepped forward, his tactical mind already analyzing the facility's layout. "Just to clarify, if we complete all trials successfully, humanity gains full access to Unity space lanes and trading rights?" "Correct again. Though such speculation is pointless," John finished. "We'll see about that." The aliens led them inside to a preparation room. As the door closed behind them, Commander Stone gathered his team for one final briefing. "Remember your training," he said quietly. "They're watching everything, analyzing every move. Don't show all your cards too early." Maria checked her equipment for the 10th time. "They're already underestimating us. Did you see how they practically dismissed us during the walk-in?" "Good," Tom replied, adjusting his rifle sights. "The bigger their surprise, the better our advantage. These trials aren't just about passing, they're about showing the Unity what humans can really do." Rick was studying a holographic display of the first trial course. "The layout matches our predictions. They're starting with raw strength tests, thinking they'll eliminate us quickly. They don't realize we've already figured out ways around their brute force challenges." A soft chime filled the room, signaling the approach of the first test. John stretched his muscles, grinning. "Anyone else feeling excited? We're about to make history or die trying." "Stay focused," Stone warned. "Remember, they'll be scanning your brains throughout the trials. Control your thoughts, just like we practiced. Don't let them see what you're planning until it's too late for them to adjust." The door opened, revealing a Unity official. "The first candidate will now step forward." Be advised, your species' previous physical assessment suggests a 99% chance of failure within the first trial. The four Marines exchanged looks. They had trained for this moment, prepared for every possibility. The aliens thought they knew humanity's limits, but they were about to learn a crucial lesson: humans had a habit of defying expectations. "I'll go first," Maria volunteered, stepping forward with confidence. As she approached the trial chamber, she heard the alien observers murmuring among themselves, probably taking bets on how quickly she would fail. She smiled. They had no idea what was coming. Commander Stone watched his soldier disappear into the testing chamber, his heart swelling with pride. Win or lose, these four Marines were about to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. The real test wasn't about strength or speed or even tactical thinking, it was about proving that humans could find ways to succeed where every other species had failed. Maria stood in the first trial chamber, her heart steady. The room was enormous, with ceiling-high metal barriers and obstacles designed for beings 3 times her size. Unity observers watched from behind transparent walls, their masks hiding any expression. "First trial begins in 30 seconds, announced the automated system. Objective: cross the chamber while moving all barriers to designated positions. Standard completion time, 4 minutes. No species under 8 feet tall has completed this trial." Maria smiled, remembering her training. The aliens had built everything assuming contestants would use pure strength. They hadn't considered human innovation. Trial begins now. The first barrier was a massive metal wall weighing several tons. The Unity expected contestants to simply push it across the floor. Instead, Maria ran to its base, examining the slight gap underneath. Just as they'd discovered in training, the barrier's weight wasn't distributed evenly. "Contestant, be advised, direct force is required," the system began. Maria ignored it. She positioned herself at the wall's edge, then pushed at a specific angle. The barrier's uneven weight distribution caused it to pivot, creating momentum. She guided this movement, letting physics do the work that raw strength couldn't. The Unity observers stirred, clearly surprised. The next obstacle was a series of weighted platforms that needed lifting. Again, they expected brute force. Maria instead created a domino effect, using each platform's weight to help lift the next. What should have been impossible for human muscles became a demonstration of leverage and timing. "Interesting approach," one alien commented. "But the final barrier requires sustained strength. No alternative method exists." They were wrong. Maria reached the last obstacle, a massive door that needed holding open while crossing through. During training, Rick had spotted something in the design specs: the door's hydraulic system had a delay. If timed perfectly. Maria sprinted forward, diving through the gap just as she triggered the door. The hydraulics caught it exactly as she calculated, holding it open long enough for her to roll through. "Trial complete," announced the system. Time, 3 minutes, 42 seconds. Silence fell in the observation room. Maria stood up, brushed off her uniform, and smiled at the dumbfounded aliens. She had not only completed their impossible trial, she had beaten the standard time. This is unprecedented," one Unity official stammered. "Our calculations showed." "Your calculations didn't account for human ingenuity," Commander Stone's voice came through the comm system. "Ready for the next trial?" The aliens huddled together, discussing rapidly in their own language. Finally, their leader stepped forward. "We must recalibrate our expectations. The next trial was designed for strength-based success, but clearly, we must consider alternatives." "Don't change anything," Maria said firmly. "We want the same tests everyone else got. Wouldn't be fair otherwise, right?" Back in the preparation room, her teammates grinned as she returned. Tom clapped her on the shoulder. Should have seen their faces when you did that pivot move with the first barrier. They're restructuring their entire testing philosophy, Rick reported, monitoring the alien communications. They can't understand how you succeeded without matching their strength requirements. John stretched his muscles, preparing for his turn. Think we got their attention yet? Oh yeah, Maria smiled. But that was just the warm-up. Wait until they see what else we can do. Commander Stone watched the Unity officials scrambling to analyze Maria's performance. Remember, he told his team quietly, we're not just passing their tests, we're changing their entire perspective on human capabilities. The announcement system chimed again. Second contestant, please step forward. Be advised, testing parameters remain unchanged, despite recent developments. John stood up, his expression determined. Time to show them that Maria's performance wasn't a fluke. Ready to see some more impossible things become possible? The Unity observers were still buzzing about Maria's success, but they were about to learn another lesson. When it came to humans, the impossible was just the beginning. Each Marine had their own way of turning the aliens' expectations upside down, and they were just getting started. John entered a different chamber from Maria's, this one designed to test stamina and endurance. The room was filled with environmental hazards, extreme temperature zones, low oxygen areas, and physical challenges that seemed to go on forever. Endurance trial begins in 30 seconds, the system announced. Objective: maintain continuous movement through all zones for 6 hours. No rest periods allowed. Warning: previous small species record is 47 minutes. The Unity observers leaned forward, curious to see if humans could continue their surprising performance. John rolled his shoulders, remembering Rick's analysis of the course layout. Trial begins now. The first zone blasted heat like a furnace. Most species would try to rush through it, burning their energy quickly. Instead, John paced himself, using the measured breathing techniques they'd practiced. His suit's cooling system, modified based on Rick's suggestions, helped regulate his temperature. Contestants' vital signs are unusual, one alien noted. Heart rate remains steady despite environmental stress. John moved through the heat zone efficiently, conserving energy. When he reached the freezing section, he was barely sweating. The aliens murmured among themselves, comparing his performance to their data. 2 hours completed, the system announced. Contestant shows no signs of standard fatigue patterns. The Unity officials couldn't understand it. Their sensors showed John was experiencing the full effect of each environmental challenge, yet he maintained a steady pace. What they didn't know was that humans had a secret weapon, evolutionary endurance hunting. They're trying to figure out why you're not exhausted yet. Rick's voice came through John's private comm. They don't realize humans evolved to outlast their prey through stamina. The next section was designed to drain oxygen slowly, making breathing difficult. But humans had another advantage here: their bodies were incredibly efficient at operating in oxygen-poor conditions when properly trained. John had spent months practicing high-altitude exercises for exactly this scenario. 4 hours complete. Contestants' performance exceeds all previous data models. The aliens were now openly discussing among themselves. Their entire understanding of physical limitations was being challenged. Species their size simply shouldn't be able to maintain this level of activity for so long. They're scanning your brain activity more intensely now, Rick warned. They think you must be using some kind of enhancement. John smiled, pushing through another challenging zone. Just good old-fashioned human stubbornness. The final hour tested mental focus as much as physical endurance. The chamber threw disorienting lights and sounds at him, trying to break his concentration. But John had trained for this too, using meditation techniques that helped him maintain his steady pace. 5 hours, 59 minutes, the system announced. Approaching final checkpoint. The Unity observers were completely silent now, watching as John crossed the finish line exactly as the 6-hour mark hit. His vital signs were tired but stable. He could have gone longer if needed. Trial complete, the system declared. Full duration achieved. 0 rest periods detected. New record established for species under 8 feet tall. John walked calmly back to the preparation room, where his teammates waited with proud grins. Maria handed him a water bottle. "Nice work making it look easy." "The aliens are completely baffled," Rick reported, monitoring their communications. "They can't understand how a species our size has this kind of stamina. Their entire testing system is based on the assumption that bigger means better." Commander Stone nodded approvingly. 2 trials, 2 victories. They're starting to realize they severely underestimated human capabilities. Tom checked his rifle one last time. "My turn next. Time to show them what human accuracy looks like." The aliens were still debating John's performance when the announcement came: "Third contestant, prepare for accuracy trials. Warning, target distances exceed normal visual range for species of your size." The Marines exchanged confident looks. The Unity thought they were testing humanity's limits, but they were actually discovering them for the first time. And they hadn't seen anything yet. Tom stepped into the accuracy chamber, his rifle feeling like a natural extension of his body. The room was enormous, stretching so far back that the targets at the far end were barely visible to the human eye. Holographic barriers, atmospheric distortions, and moving obstacles filled the space between. "Accuracy trial begins in 30 seconds, the system announced. Objective: hit all targets while compensating for environmental interference. Note, target distance exceeds human visual capabilities by 300%. The Unity observers had doubled in number, word having spread about the humans' unexpected successes. They watched intently as Tom took his position, wondering how a human could possibly hit targets they could barely see. Trial begins now. The first target appeared, partially hidden behind a holographic barrier. The Unity expected contestants to power through the barrier with high-energy shots. Instead, Tom noticed how the light bent around its edges. With perfect timing, he fired a shot that curved around the barrier, striking the target dead center. "Impossible," one alien gasped. "The calculations for that trajectory." Tom was already lining up his next shot. During training, he had discovered something fascinating: the atmospheric distortions meant to disrupt shots actually created predictable patterns. What the alien saw as an obstacle, he used as a guide. "Multiple targets deploying," the system announced. Randomized movement patterns engaged. This was where most species failed. The targets moved in complex patterns while environmental effects made standard targeting impossible. But humans had evolved as pursuit predators, with incredible pattern recognition abilities. Tom's shots flew true, one after another. He wasn't just hitting the targets, he was hitting their centers, using the distortion fields to curve his shots in ways the Unity had never considered possible. "Their weapons aren't even designed for this kind of precision," Rick's voice came through the comm. "They're used to brute force approaches, overwhelming targets with power rather than accuracy." The final stage began, revealing targets at extreme distances. The Unity observers leaned forward, certain that no human could possibly succeed at this range. What they didn't know was that Tom had spent years developing techniques for impossible shots. He took a deep breath, using all his training. Each shot was a calculation of wind, gravity, atmospheric interference, and the subtle patterns he'd learned to recognize. The targets fell one by one, each hit perfectly centered. Trial complete, the system announced. Accuracy rating, 100%. New record established for targeting precision. The observation room erupted in chaos. The aliens were arguing among themselves, their translator devices struggling to keep up with their rapid discussion. "This defies all known physical limitations," one insisted. Their visual acuity should make such accuracy impossible. Tom walked back to his team, a slight smile on his face. Maria punched his arm playfully. Show off. Did you have to hit every single one in the exact center? The looks on their faces were worth it, John grinned. They still can't figure out how you made those curved shots. Rick was monitoring the alien communications with growing amusement. They're calling in their senior weapons specialists. Apparently, they want to study how you achieved physics-defying shot trajectories. Commander Stone stepped forward as the next announcement began. Final contestant, prepare for tactical trials. Multiple opponents. Maximum difficulty engaged. Rick stood up, his expression determined. They saved the hardest for last. They think their combat AI is unbeatable. After what they've seen so far, you'd think they'd stop underestimating us, Tom said, cleaning his rifle. The Unity officials were still reviewing Tom's performance data when Rick entered the tactical chamber. They had no idea that their supposedly invincible combat AI was about to meet something it had never encountered before: human adaptability and unconventional thinking. Time to show them why humans are the most unpredictable species they've ever met, Rick said, stepping into position. The real test was about to begin. The tactical chamber transformed around Rick, creating a complex battlefield filled with holographic enemies and obstacles. The Unity's combat AI was their proudest achievement, an undefeated system that could adapt to any strategy. Final individual trial begins in 30 seconds, the system announced. Objective: survive and achieve mission goals against adaptive AI opponents. Warning: no species has achieved victory against maximum difficulty settings. Rick smiled. During training, he had discovered something fascinating about the Unity's AI: it was perfectly logical. And that was its weakness. Trial begins now. The AI deployed its forces in a textbook pattern, exactly as Rick expected. The Unity valued order and efficiency above all else, and their AI reflected this philosophy. But humans? Humans excelled at chaos. Contestants' movement patterns are irregular, an alien observer noted. The AI cannot establish a predictable response template. Rick was using strategies that seemed completely random to the AI. He would establish patterns, then break them at crucial moments. He would set up obvious traps, then deliberately spring them himself to create unexpected advantages. Their AI is struggling, Maria commented, watching the screens. It can't predict what he's going to do because he's not following any logical pattern. The Unity observers were frantically analyzing Rick's performance. Their AI was designed to learn and adapt, but it couldn't adapt to strategies that defied its basic programming of logic and efficiency. Remarkable, one alien muttered. The human is using chaos itself as a weapon. Rick reached the final phase, where the AI typically deployed its most devastating tactics. But he had saved his greatest surprise for last. He started making deliberate mistakes. The AI, programmed to capitalize on errors, fell right into his trap. Trial complete, the system announced. Mission objectives achieved. First recorded victory against maximum difficulty AI. The observation room was silent. 4 trials, 4 victories, each achieved in ways the Unity had never imagined possible. But they weren't finished yet. Team trial begins in 5 minutes, the system declared. All contestants will face combined challenges simultaneously. The 4 Marines regrouped, their expressions determined. This was what they had trained for, combining their individual strengths into something even greater. They think they know what we can do now, Commander Stone said quietly. Show them they haven't seen anything yet. The final chamber was massive, combining elements from all previous trials. The Unity observers watched as the 4 humans took their positions, their sensors trying to predict what impossible feats would come next. What followed was a display of teamwork that left the aliens speechless. Maria's innovative movement techniques combined with John's endurance. Tom's precision shots created opportunities that Rick's unpredictable tactics exploited. They moved as one unit, each person's strengths covering another's challenges. "This is beyond our understanding," the lead alien finally admitted as the Marines completed the final team challenge with unprecedented scores. "Your species, we gravely underestimated you." Commander Stone stepped forward. "That's the thing about humans. We don't accept limitations. We overcome them." The Unity's leadership convened an emergency meeting right there in the observation room. After intense discussion, their leader approached the humans. "In thousands of years, no species has completed our trials with such creativity. You have shown us that our understanding of capability was too narrow. We officially welcome humanity into the Unity's space lanes and commerce networks." The Marines stood proud, but the alien wasn't finished. "Additionally, we would like to propose something unprecedented. We wish to learn from your species. Your methods, your adaptability, your human ingenuity. Perhaps there is more to strength than size, more to intelligence than logic." As the four Marines left the facility, they could hear the aliens still discussing their performances, already rewriting their understanding of what was possible. They had done more than pass impossible tests, they had changed an entire alien civilization's perspective on human potential. "Not bad for a day's work," John grinned. "Just wait until they see what the rest of humanity can do," Commander Stone smiled. This was just the beginning. The massive alien ship that had once looked so intimidating now seemed different in the Martian sunset. It was no longer a symbol of humanity's limitations, but a gateway to the stars, opened by four Marines who had proved that impossible was just another word for hasn't been done by humans yet.